Tonight was August 11th, 2025. The air in Club Karma was thick, a potent mix of expensive perfume, sweet smoke, and the sweat of beautiful people trying way too hard. From my perch in the VIP lounge, I saw it all. I was Jaslyn, and this was my kingdom. Every bottle popped, every whispered deal, every sidelong glance happened under my watch. I ran this fortress of velvet ropes and secret handshakes with an iron will. Nothing and no one got past me unless I allowed it. The bass from the main floor was a constant heartbeat, a rhythm I controlled. It pulsed through the soles of my Louboutins, a reminder of the power I held. I kept my face a mask of cool indifference, but my mind was a machine, cataloging every detail with sharp precision. They called me the Empress of Karma for a reason. I decided who got the best tables, who drank the finest champagne, and who was quietly shown the back door. My reputation was everything. It was built on a foundation of silence and observation. I knew the secrets of politicians, athletes, and rappers who came here to escape the glare of the public eye. They trusted me because I treated their business like my own, discreetly and with absolute control. My crew moved with silent efficiency, their loyalty to me unquestionable. They knew I saw everything, from the way a wannabe clutched his fake Rolex to the nervous twitch of a dealer making a drop. This world was a game, and I had mastered all the rules. My eyes scanned the crowd below, a sea of flashing lights and desperate energy. I saw the usual faces, the models looking for their next come-up, the ballers flashing stacks of cash, the industry vets looking bored and jaded. It was a predictable scene, a play I had watched 1,000 times. I took a slow sip of my drink, the cold liquid doing little to cool the fire of ambition that always burned inside me. I had fought my way to the top, clawing past haters and doubters. This position wasn't just a job, it was my life, my identity. I was untouchable, a queen on her throne surrounded by walls I had built myself. Nothing could shake me. That's what I thought anyway. But control is a funny thing. You can hold it so tight that you don't even realize when your knuckles are white, when your grip is starting to slip. You get so used to the same old story that you don't see the new chapter about to begin. Tonight, the air felt different, charged with something I couldn't name. A storm was brewing just beyond the horizon of my perfectly managed world. I felt a subtle shift, a crack in the flawless facade of my empire. And I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that something was about to change everything. My reign of perfect order was about to face its greatest challenge. Then I saw him. He moved through the chaos of the main floor like he owned it, but with none of the loud arrogance that usually accompanied that kind of confidence. He wasn't throwing money around or demanding attention. He didn't have to. Attention just naturally bent in his direction. He was tall, dressed in all black, a simple, tailored shirt and dark jeans that fit him just right. A single gold chain rested against his collarbone, catching the light. He wasn't flashy, but he radiated a quiet power that was louder than all the noise in the club combined. He was a shadow with substance, a king moving unnoticed among jesters. My eyes followed him as he made his way toward the VIP stairs, my security guard Marco stepping forward to block his path. Most guys would get loud, drop names, or flash a wad of cash. Not him. He just met Marco's gaze, said something low and calm, and Marco, a man who never broke his stern composure, simply nodded and stepped aside. No fuss, no drama, just an effortless command of the situation. He ascended the stairs with a slow, deliberate pace, his eyes scanning the lounge not like he was impressed, but like he was assessing a new piece of territory. His presence was a ripple in the still waters of my domain, and I felt it instantly. He didn't look for the most crowded table, or try to get close to the local celebrity holding court in the corner. Instead, his eyes found mine across the room. It wasn't a leer or a challenge, it was a look of recognition, like he had been searching for me all along. The connection was immediate, a jolt of electricity that cut through the noise and the smoke. His face was handsome, with sharp angles and a seriousness in his eyes that suggested he had seen things, new things. A faint scar cut through one of his eyebrows, a small imperfection that only made him more intriguing. He was a puzzle, and I suddenly had an overwhelming urge to solve him. This man, Dre, as I would soon learn his name was, carried himself with a stillness that was magnetic. In a place where everyone was screaming to be seen, his silence was the most captivating sound. He wasn't here to party or to be seen. He was here for a reason, and a cold knot of anticipation tightened in my stomach. I knew, with a deep primal instinct, that his reason was me. The carefully constructed walls around my world suddenly felt thin, almost transparent. He was a threat to my control, to the order I cherished. But instead of fear, I felt a rush, a dangerous and exhilarating thrill that I hadn't felt in a very long time. He walked straight toward me, his steps unhurried. He didn't stop at the bar or get distracted by the women who turned their heads as he passed. His focus was entirely on me. When he reached my private table, he didn't ask for permission to sit. He just pulled out the chair opposite me and settled into it, moving with a fluid grace that was almost predatory. He leaned forward slightly, resting his arms on the table, and looked at me. The rest of the club, with all its noise and motion, seemed to fade into a muted background. It was just the two of us, locked in a silent duel. The air crackled with unspoken energy, a tension that was both a threat and an invitation. "Jaslyn," he said. His voice was deep, a low rumble that vibrated through me. It wasn't a question, but a statement of fact. They say nothing happens in this club without you knowing about it. He wasn't flirting in the typical way. There were no cheap compliments or slick lines. This was different. It was a game of power, and he was acknowledging mine right from the start. I leaned back, mirroring his calm, and met his intense gaze without flinching. "They say a lot of things," I replied, my voice cool and steady. "Only half of them are true. The trick is knowing which half." A slow smile touched the corner of his mouth. "I'm a good judge of character," Dre said, his eyes never leaving mine. "And I'm betting that's the true half." The conversation was a chess match. Every word was a move, a test of strength. He was trying to see beneath the surface, to find the real woman behind the Empress of Karma persona. And I was doing the same to him. I wanted to know who this man was, this stranger who walked into my world and acted like he belonged. There was a raw honesty in his approach that was disarming. He wasn't intimidated by me, and that alone made him the most dangerous man I had ever met. "And what else does your judgment tell you?" I challenged, raising an eyebrow. He leaned in a little closer, the scent of his cologne, something clean and masculine, reaching me. "It tells me you're tired of the game," he whispered, his voice for my ears only. "It tells me you're looking for something real." His words hit me harder than any physical blow could have. He saw right through me. He saw the loneliness behind the power, the weariness behind the control. For the first time all night, my mask slipped. I broke eye contact for a second, a flicker of vulnerability I couldn't hide. He had won this round. I stood up slowly. "My sweet," I said, my voice barely audible. "Let's talk there." It was an admission of defeat and a surrender to something I couldn't explain. My private suite was my sanctuary, a place of quiet and solitude high above the chaos. The moment the door closed behind us, the thumping bass of the club was silenced, replaced by an even more deafening intensity. The pretense was over. The game was done. We didn't need any more words. He stood in the center of the room, watching me as I turned to face him. The space between us was charged, filled with a raw, undeniable chemistry that had been building since the moment our eyes first met. All the control I prided myself on, all the carefully built walls, crumbled to dust in his presence. I was no longer the Empress of Karma. I was just Jaslyn, a woman standing before a man who saw her completely. He crossed the room in 3 long strides. He didn't grab me or rush. He simply raised his hand and gently brushed a stray strand of hair from my face. The touch was electric, a spark that ignited a fire deep within me. My breath hitched. His fingers traced the line of my jaw, his touch both tender and firm, sending shivers down my spine. I closed my eyes, leaning into his touch, surrendering to the sensation. When I opened them again, his face was inches from mine. "Jaslyn," he murmured again, and this time my name sounded like a prayer on his lips. Then he kissed me and the world fell away. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was fierce, hungry, a collision of 2 powerful forces who had finally found their match. It was a kiss of pent-up desire, of unspoken understanding, of a connection so deep it felt like we had known each other for a lifetime. My hands went to his neck, pulling him closer, my fingers tangling in his hair. His arms wrapped around my waist, lifting me effortlessly as he carried me toward the bed. Every touch, Every kiss was a confirmation of what we both already knew. This was meant to be. This was not just passion. It was a homecoming, a recognition of a soul I hadn't known was missing from mine. Later, we lay tangled in the silk sheets, the city lights twinkling through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The silence was comfortable, peaceful. My head rested on his chest, his steady heartbeat a soothing rhythm beneath my ear. I had let someone into my fortress, into my sanctuary, and I felt no regret. This one night had changed the entire landscape of my life. I didn't know what the future held, who Dre really was, or what this would mean for the empire I had built. But as I lay there in the quiet aftermath of our storm, I knew one thing for sure. My life as the untouchable empress of karma was over. A new chapter had begun, and for the first time I wasn't in control, and I was okay with that.